Your child runs up to you, beaming, holding a drawing. It's a beautiful mess of colors, and your heart swells. You say, "Wow, you are such a good artist. This is amazing." They smile, but later you find that drawing crumpled in the trash. Or the next time they try to draw, they get frustrated and quit after just 1 minute. What happened? You did everything right. You praised them. But what if that praise, the very words meant to build them up, was actually making them weaker? Many parents make one common mistake that slowly erodes a child's resilience. But don't worry. In this video, I'm going to give you one simple question that will completely change how your child sees themselves and their abilities. A question that builds real, lasting self-esteem from the inside out. Before we get to the magic question, it's so important to understand what's happening in your child's brain. Famed psychologist Carol Dweck discovered two powerful mindsets, a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A child with a fixed mindset believes their talents and intelligence are set in stone. They are either smart or they aren't. A child with a growth mindset believes their abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Now here's the critical part. When we praise a child's innate qualities, saying things like, "You're so smart," or "You're a natural athlete," we are accidentally pushing them into a fixed mindset. This creates a terrifying pressure to always live up to that label. They start avoiding challenges because if they fail, it doesn't just mean they failed a task, it means they are a failure. I want to be very clear. If you've been doing this, you are not a bad parent. You are doing it from a place of love. This is one of the most common parenting traps, but the good news is, it is incredibly easy to fix. Let's start by dissecting what I call empty praise. These are the phrases we use on autopilot. Good job, nice work, you're so smart. The first problem is that this kind of praise is incredibly vague. What exactly was the good job? Was it the colors they chose? The way they held their pencil? The fact that they sat still for 10 minutes? The child doesn't know. They just know they got a hit of positive attention. This creates what psychologists call praise junkies. Children who need constant external validation to feel good about themselves. They start doing things not for the joy of the activity, but for the reward of your approval. This is the first step toward killing their intrinsic motivation. Instead of developing their own internal compass for success and satisfaction, they are constantly looking outside of themselves, asking, "Am I doing this right? Does Mum approve? Is this good enough for Dad?" It's a subtle shift, but it has massive consequences for their future confidence and their ability to tackle challenges independently. The second, and more serious danger of this kind of praise is that it links a child's entire sense of self-worth to their performance. When you say, "You are a great soccer player," the message they hear isn't about their skills, it's about their identity. So what happens when they have a bad game? What happens when they miss the goal? They don't think, "I had a tough game today, I'll practice more." They think, "I am a bad soccer player, I am a failure." This is devastating for their self-esteem. Imagine a dialogue. Your son comes home with a 95 on a test. You say, "Wow, you are so brilliant." He feels great. The next week he gets a 70. He doesn't just feel disappointed in the grade, he feels ashamed of himself. He might even hide the test from you because he believes he has failed to be the brilliant person you told him he was. This creates a deep-seated fear of failure that can lead to anxiety, perfectionism, and a complete refusal to try new, difficult things. So what's the alternative? It's a concept called process praise. This is the foundation of building a growth mindset. Instead of praising the person or the outcome, you praise the process. The process includes their effort, their strategies, their perseverance, their focus, and their improvement. This simple shift is a game changer. It communicates to your child that what you value most is not a fixed talent they were born with, but the hard work and thinking they put into something. It detaches their self-worth from the final result. With process praise, failure is no longer a catastrophe. It's simply a part of learning. It's feedback. It's an opportunity to try a new strategy. Think about it. When you praise effort, you are giving your child something they have 100% control over. They can't always control whether they win the game or get the highest grade, but they can always control how hard they try and whether they give up. This is where real, unshakable confidence comes from. The first practical step in using process praise is to stop judging and start describing. Become a narrator of your child's actions. I call this the I notice technique. It's incredibly powerful because it shows your child that you are truly paying attention to them, not just giving a generic compliment. Let's go back to that drawing. Instead of "good job," you could say, "I notice you used so many different colors in this picture. I see you drew a big yellow sun in the corner and a tiny red bird on that branch." This isn't praise, it's observation. It opens the door for a conversation. For a block tower, instead of "what a great tower," try, "I notice you stacked the square blocks on the bottom and the smaller, round ones on top. You were so careful trying to make it balance." This validates their choices and their thinking process without placing any judgment on the final product. It makes them feel seen and understood on a much deeper level. The next layer is to actively acknowledge the struggle. As parents, our first instinct when we see our child struggling is to rush in and fix it. We want to take away their frustration, but struggle is not the enemy. Struggle is where learning happens. It's the mental equivalent of lifting weights to build a muscle. By acknowledging their effort during a tough moment, you normalize it. You teach them that difficulty is an expected part of the process. Let's say your daughter is getting frustrated with a puzzle. Instead of saying, "Oh, let me help you," try kneeling down beside her and saying, "Wow, it looks like you're working really hard to find where that piece goes. Those edges can be so tricky, can't they?" This does two things. First, it gives a name to her feeling, frustration, which helps her develop emotional intelligence. Second, it communicates your faith in her ability to eventually figure it out. You're not rescuing her, you are her supportive coach on the sidelines, cheering on her effort. Now that you've laid the groundwork by observing their actions and acknowledging their struggle, you're ready to introduce the main tool. For so long, we've believed our job as parents is to be the ultimate judge of our children's work. The giver of gold stars, the chief of compliments. We hold all the power to decide what is good and what is bad. But to build true self-esteem, we need to transfer that power back to our children. We need to teach them how to evaluate their own work and, more importantly, their own feelings about their work. This is how you build an internal compass, an inner voice of validation that will serve them for their entire lives, long after you're not there to say, "Good job." This is what separates kids who crumble under pressure from kids who rise to a challenge. They aren't looking for your approval because they've learned how to approve of themselves, and it all starts with one simple question. The question is this: how do you feel about it? Or, what do you think about it? It is so simple, yet so profound. When you ask your child this question, you are sending a powerful message. Your opinion matters most. Your feelings are valid. You are the expert on your own experience. It shifts the focus from, "Am I pleasing Mum?" to, "Am I pleased with myself?" It takes the spotlight off of you, the external judge, and shines it back on them, the creator. They stop seeing their drawing or their block tower as something they did for you, and start seeing it as something they did for themselves. This is the birthplace of intrinsic motivation and authentic pride. It's the difference between a child who says, "Look what I did for you," and a child who says, "Look what I did for me." This one question teaches self-reflection, self-assessment, and self-worth all at once. It is the single most effective tool for building genuine confidence. Let's walk through a full before and after scenario. Your 5-year-old spends 20 minutes building a tall, wobbly tower of blocks. He is totally focused. Finally, he places the last block on top, and it sways, but stands. He yells, "Dad, look!" The old script might be, "Wow, that's the best tower ever! You're such an amazing builder!" He feels a rush of pride. But then, a moment later, the tower falls. The crash is followed by tears and frustration. Because in his mind, the amazing builder just failed. Now, let's try the new script. He says, "Dad, look." You come over and say, "I see you worked on that for a long time. You were concentrating so hard on making each block balance. Look how tall you got it to be." You've observed the process. Then you ask the question, "How do you feel about it?" He might say, "I'm proud it's so tall." Now, when the tower falls, the conversation is different. You can say, "It's okay that it fell. You still felt really proud of how tall you built it, and that feeling is real." Of course, it won't always be that easy. What if you ask, "How do you feel about it?" and your child just shrugs and says, "I don't know." Or worse, what if they say, "It's bad. I hate it." This is a perfect coaching moment. It's a sign they are still stuck in that fixed mindset of judging the outcome. Your job is to gently guide them back to the process. If they say, "I don't know," you can ask more specific, process-oriented questions. For example, "What was your favorite part of making it?" Or, "Which part felt the most challenging?" Or, "Is there anything you would do differently next time you build a tower?" These questions are not about judging the final product. They are about fostering a reflective and resilient mindset. If they say, "It's bad," you can validate their feeling while still focusing on effort. You might say, "It sounds like you're feeling frustrated with how it turned out. I still saw how hard you were working on it." Sometimes things don't turn out the way we planned, and that's okay. This powerful question isn't just for art projects or block towers. You can and should use it in every area of your child's life. When your child finishes their homework, instead of just checking it for right answers, you can say, "You spent a lot of time on that math sheet. How do you feel about the problems you were able to solve?" After they clean their room, instead of a simple, "Thanks," try, "Wow, you worked hard to get all your toys put away. What does it feel like to be in your clean room now?" When they come home from a friend's house, "How did it feel to play with Sarah today?" This technique transforms everyday interactions into opportunities for building self-awareness and internal validation. You are consistently sending the message that their experience, their effort, and their feelings are what truly matter. This is how you raise a child who doesn't need the world to tell them they're great, because they've learned how to find that strength within themselves. So let's bring it all together. The path to real, resilient self-esteem isn't paved with empty praise like "you're so smart." It's built, brick by brick, with meaningful conversations about the process. Remember the steps. First, observe their actions and their effort. Next, acknowledge their struggles as a normal part of learning. And finally, turn the power over to them by asking that one simple question. How do you feel about it? I know this might feel different at first, but you are doing something incredible. You are not just raising a child who seeks approval. You are raising a human being who knows their own worth, who isn't afraid to fail, and who finds joy in the journey, not just the destination. You are a good parent, and you have everything you need to do this. You've got this. If this video was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more tips to make parenting a little bit easier. Now, I have a question for you. What's one common praise phrase you've used on autopilot? Share it in the comments below. Let's learn from each other.